Alright guys, it's Kyle Cutlass, and I have to make this video as quick as possible. So, I was helping my buddy today degree in a camshaft because he had all kinds of issues. And the moral of the story is don't buy products from Comcams. They're fucking garbage. He got a complete, camshaft kit with valve springs and all that stuff, and the cam sprocket for the crank side, or the crank sprocket was not marked. So we had to go spend a ton of time to figure out where our mark was going to be for the crankshaft center line and what the other marks were doing as far as slots go. And whatever it is, we got the camshaft within a degree. So it worked out, but we spent a ton of time. But in the process of working on that big block, I kind of got the ball rolling in my mind about this future 427 build. So I was kind of putting together rough numbers and figures for this build, and excluding the cost of the engine. And mind you, this is with new lightweight pistons, H-beam rods, which are a little overkill, but they're going to be better considering we're going to be spinning a 2-bolt main block. We can use any reinforcement we can, but this is with H-beam rods, main studs, solid roller cams, solid lifters, head studs, rock arm studs, guide plates. We're going to be using aluminum heads. That's the game plan from Flowtech, since my buddy has had quite a bit of success running them on his 351 Windsor. I decided that's the way I'm going to go. I did add the price of valve springs into that because I doubt I'm going to find a Flowtech head with the amount of spring that I'm going to need for a solid roller. And this is with an oil pump, deep sump pan, pickup, mini starter, an intake, timing cover, which we're going to use a nice aluminum cover where we can adjust the cam thrust, a HEI distributor. I mean, I'm counting everything new in this. And the price difference is quite staggering between a big block Olds and a big block Chevy, because people have said it's going to cost you the same to build a big block Olds as a big block Chevy, but that's a lot of bullshit, because you're going to build a big block Olds, spend a lot of money, not make nearly the same amount of power or have the same amount of reliability or the availability, which is most important of all, is the availability. Because one thing is, we're running ported cylinder heads in this car. If one of them takes a shit, guess what? It's going to be really hard to recreate that one cylinder head. We're married to that setup. So it makes it really hard when you have these kind of oddball engines fitting in what you do. It makes it hard. So, and again, that's taken in consideration motor mounts, which we may do a motor plate because it's only going to be $75 more than the motor mounts for a generic motor plate that we'll have to trim to fit, which we're cool with fabrication work. Headers, starter, we're taking into consideration all of that stuff. It's going to be on the high side about $7,000 without the initial cost of the engine or machining. If we were to include all of that, we're looking at about $10,000, which is not actually bad, to be honest with you, because we would probably be making just north of 600 horsepower. It would be very easy to attain that with a big block Chevy and a really good cylinder head. So I think the capability is pretty easy. The reliability is going to be better for the cost. Now, ways we're going to chop it down is we have the 350 Olds that's in the basement with the big block J heads, which somebody's already interested, and we're going to sell for a huge chunk of that cost. And then we also are getting a really good intake that's brand new in the box. We're trading labor for, along with a bunch of miscellaneous parts. Now, what I am getting is a 69 427 from a passenger car, so that means that it's a 335 horse 10-to-1 motor. The difference between the 335 and the 390 horse motor, from my understanding, isn't compression, it's literally just a camshaft. The camshaft that I'm getting in this intake deal is actually bigger than that. So we could build a nice 400-ish, maybe a little bit more horsepower, 427, on a real low budget with the stock pistons and rods. And as long as we keep the RPM down, we could probably run about the same ETs, to be honest with you, because probably on a good day, this motor is probably only making about 435 on a really good day. That's about as good as it's going to get. But the 427, since the 2-bolt main, has its limitations. and I would probably have to change the rear end, which my buddy still has the old rear end, the 390 that I took out of here, the whole entire assembly, he still has it, and I may be able to buy it back. And the combination right now that's in the drivetrain dictates a lot of what we're gonna do. But also it's selling the engine and a lot of things, because I'm trying to cover costs and trade labor, and my machinist is gonna let me use the machine shop as long as I maintain the machines and take care of the equipment and help them out. So we got things on the line, and we're going to try to chop down that number. And some people may say that it's not realistic. Well, trading labor is not unattainable if you're working the trades, which most guys that are in the cars that work on their stuff are in the trades. Swap meets, I'm going to try to get as much of used stuff as I can that's good. Obviously, I'm going to try to get like timing cover, oil pan, headers, stuff like that. If you can cut the price in half, it's stuff that is going to definitely not fail on you, and it's not going to hurt anything. But I am trying to use as much really good components as I can on this engine, because to be honest with you, the engine that's in the car alone, if I was to build it from scratch and actually pay somebody to do the amount of cylinder head work that's in these heads, this engine would probably run north of $8,000. The work that's been done to the intake, the modifications, the porting, the cylinder head work, all of that stuff, this engine that's in the car would probably cost north of $8,000 as it sits from scratch. So really, and that's with stock rods and crank, just ARP fasteners. So keep that in mind. Now, if you go big block olds, you're definitely looking at a crank, you're definitely looking at rods, you're looking at lightweight pistons. With our 427, the stock crank should be good to 650. We would just need good rods, light pistons, and good fasteners to be able to spin it up to 7,000 RPM. We would need a little bit of top end support with a girdle, but that is, again, factored all into this cost that I've given you. So this is kind of the first thing you should really look at when you're thinking about building an engine on a budget, because this will be on a budget, but we will chop this down. So stay tuned, share, like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Copper Cutlass, and hopefully you guys enjoy this video, because this is the first step into the next step. And we'll be breaking into 454 next weekend, so stick around.